Let's talk about the elephant in the room first, and that is, why do you actually want to change your career? Because whenever I coach senior leaders and consultants, they have a plethora of reasons why they want to change their careers. And depending on that very reason, also your approach changes very much on how to make that career change even happen. That's why in this video, we are looking at the different reasons why many people want to change their careers and how the different solution for each reason looks like. And most of my clients, when they ask themselves how to change their careers, there is even an underlying question that weighs heavy on them. And it's actually a fear. And that fear is it even possible to change careers at age 30, 40, or even 50? And then comes the next wave of mass layoffs and makes that decision just for them. So it's not a question anymore of whether it is possible to change careers at a certain age, but now you need to reinvent yourself anyhow. So we might as well get ahead of the wave. So let's take this doubt out of the way right from the beginning. Yes, it is possible to change your career at any age. And even worse, it becomes inevitable. With the whole AI adoption, the workforce is completely restructuring itself. So business as we know it from the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years will cease to exist. Something new is already being built. Like we are observing that right now. It's right in front of our eyes. And this process will even accelerate over the next 5 to 10 years. And I have even evidence to back it up. So you can go over to Google Trends right now and then set worldwide search and type in the keyword career transition. And you will see a chart that is going parabolic for the last 12 months. And that's not a coincidence, because if you go back about 100 years in time, we had the Industrial Revolution. And the exact same thing is happening right now. Now it's AI taking over knowledge work. By the way, all of what I'm teaching here on YouTube, we will also find in my Mental Mastery Academy. It's my inner circle where I coach senior leaders and consultants to create meaningful careers and even going solo. So you'll find the link right down in the description. Now let's dive right into it. The very first reason that most of my clients come to me with is they feel a misalignment in their current work. And that's caused by chronic stress, sometimes even burnout. Luckily, my clients don't come to me when they already burned out, but they're right before burning out. And the reason behind it is because your career looks successful on paper. You got the titles, you got the money coming in, but it feels empty on the inside. And that's what causes this misalignment, this question: does life really not have any more to offer than this? And if you're feeling like this, then the approach is we are looking at your values, for instance. What is important to you? What do you appreciate? Then, what are your actual strengths? And the fascinating part is most of my clients, they don't know what their strengths are. Like they know it deep down, but they can't articulate it first when we start talking, because there is a difference between strengths and competencies. Like anyone can get competent at nearly everything up to a certain level, but strengths are more profound, are deeper. Strengths are like talents. So that's activities and stuff that you do, like, for instance, coaching for planning projects, structuring, connecting the dots, it comes easy to you. It comes natural. It doesn't cost you energy. Then the next thing we look into is your surrounding, like the people around you. How do you relate to them? How do you resonate with them? And also, if you're in this situation, chances are that the person that you are now is not the same person that you've been 5, 10, or even 20 years ago. So your identity evolved, you grew personally, and there is a mismatch because on a rational level, you haven't just completely digested this identity shift. And there are some beliefs that hold you back from fully stepping into that identity that has already started growing. Then the second big reason, we've been talking about that already, are the mass layoffs and the fundamental restructuring in the workforce caused by AI. So the approach then again is completely different. We would also look at your strengths because that's something that's unique to you. Nobody has that skill set and that strengths set that you have and bring. So that's your unique selling proposition. So that is the same. But then we look also at your transferable skills because in your career so far, you have gained experience and you have built skills that aren't tied to a certain industry. They aren't tied to a certain topic that you're working on. They aren't tied to a certain type of company. So that's the meaning of transferable skills. You can apply them in any industry, in any company, on any topic. And taking your strengths and your transferable skills will lead into shaping a unique positioning for you, a positioning that results in your CV, in your LinkedIn profile, and that doesn't have any competition because it's your unique positioning. And then the next step will be fast experimentation to see how that CV, how that unique positioning resonates with the market and finding companies that will employ you. The next very common reason that many of my clients come to me with is this feeling of working in a golden cage and in a toxic culture. So typical signs are that your colleagues are backstabbing, you can't trust anyone in your organization, and your bosses, they aren't leaders, but they're literally just putting all the pressure down on you, like they're receiving the pressure from their bosses and they're just pushing it through. They don't protect you, and long hours, 12, 14, 16 work hours, receiving Slack messages at night. So all of that makes a toxic culture. And the golden cage is this feeling that your career is not going anywhere anymore, but at the same time, you're held back by the financial security that your job provides you. And again, the approach here to change your career when the golden cage and a toxic work culture is an issue for you and the main driver is very different. Now it's all about personal growth, it's about inner work. Probably there are a lot of limiting beliefs. So, limiting beliefs that are thoughts that are stuck in your head and hold you back from doing something about your career change. Those thoughts could be, oh, yeah, right now, with the economic situation, with all the war going on and the inflation, now is not a good time. And that isn't necessarily true because companies are still hiring. There are still companies even making insane revenue, and despite the revenue growth, laying off staff. So that's mind blowing in a way. And while they're laying off staff, they are hiring even more staff. So it's really just a limiting belief because you just look at one part of reality, but there are also other parts of reality that you cannot see because of this limiting belief. Then also, there is then also another thing that is quite common with many of my clients when it comes to working in toxic cultures is people pleasing. So you think like you cannot set boundaries. If your boss tells you to prepare a presentation between 8 and 10 at night because he needs to have that in the next morning, you just jump and do it. And no, you're not forced to do that. You can set boundaries, because if you don't set boundaries, then nobody else will. And the reason behind it is people pleasing. We are afraid, we want to be likable, we want to grow our careers. Because you want to grow your career, it's very hard for you to say no, because also you don't really know like what is too much. And then the third thing is just to start scanning the market, like looking at other opportunities that you haven't even considered because of some limiting beliefs. You don't need to quit your job right away, put yourself out there without any safety net, without any plan B. Start looking at opportunities first, scanning the market, interviewing, and that gives you confidence that there are actually alternatives to a toxic work culture. And then there is the last reason that also many of my clients come with me to. So during the last 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, they've had this desire of more autonomy, of more flexibility, even dreaming of starting their own business, but they've never followed through this thought. But they do have the desire. And for most of them, and that's also my own experience, I had the desire to start my business 20 years ago already, but back in the day, I really wasn't ready. I didn't have any business expertise, experience, didn't understand economics, and let alone how to build a service offer, how to position myself. But that might now be your chance to start your business. And again, you don't need to quit your job right away. So if that's something that motivates you, that drives you, that maybe keeps you up at night, this nagging question, what if I started my business? What if I just tried it out? Then the approach here again is completely different. Then we look at, so what's your experience that you can sell to someone? How can you package that? What holds you actually back from just starting to think about starting a business? Who could you be your ideal client profile? Then what would be your positioning against the competition, your unique selling proposition? And starting, for instance, to post online, go on LinkedIn, share your expertise. Again, very different approach. Now, all of these reasons, as you've seen, have completely different approaches. Some have some overlaps, but they take you completely different paths. And all of what I'm teaching here on YouTube, all the perspectives, all the tutorials, all the exercises, my direct feedback, my coaching, you'll get all of that in the Mental Mastery Academy. The link is down in the description. Feel free to check it out. And you'll also have a like-minded community of other people who are on the same path, just like you. And that's one of the most important parts, so you don't feel alone in what you're doing. And if you want to make a career change, but you don't feel ready yet, you might just suffer from imposter syndrome. And in my next video, we'll talk about exactly that, what imposter syndrome is and how you can overcome it. Thank you for watching. Feel free to check out the next video. Bye bye.